At this point, we can explain the mid-heaven and how Aries comes to be in the mid-heaven. And something very interesting you might want to research yourself on YouTube is a video called Solar System New Interpretation by Dr. Palathadka Keshava Vahat, B-H-A-T.
Just the name of the planet. What is it called again?
Solar System New Interpretation. And at the 1 minute point 45 mark, Keshava had the insight to show how the sun, of course, is teaching that the sun is spiralling through the heavens, which it is, in a vortex system where the sun is at the apex, just like Walter Russell teaches, and all the planets are sort of following, orbiting behind the sun, but with the sun, not around it, all in this one plane here, like this. But you know, you'll have Mercury going around like this, and then Venus, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as the sun spins, the planets are sort of thrust around with their angular momentum, and they are carried in the wake of the sun in this vortex. This is in fact how the solar system works. It works like this, because all solar systems, all the planets, according to Walter Russell, come from the equators of the suns. And what they do is they are ejected from the equators, and as they go out, so the first one from our solar system would have been the likes of Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, then Saturn. And that's when Saturn had dominion over the world. Then Jupiter takes over from Saturn, Mars, Venus. And all these planets, what they do is they get bigger and bigger as they recede away in the wake of the sun, as they grow. Our Earth is growing, yeah? You can check this out on the internet. It's a fact. The Earth is expanding and growing. The rotation is speeding faster and faster, and the orbit is slowing down. So these orbits slow down, and they recede and go away from the sun, and the rotation speeds up to keep the equilibrium between centrifugal and centripetal forces. Otherwise, these planets, they fly off on a tangent. According to Walter Russell and the book A New Concept of the Universe. You should read it if you're interested in this stuff. Also, another fact with the Earth is that there's a cycle called the obliquity of the ecliptic. And as I showed you before, the Earth like this, and you've got the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, and this sine wave is 23.5 degrees in wave amplitude, right? Because the tilt of the Earth is at 23.5 degrees. Well, that tilt is not fixed. It goes around and around and around. Every 2,160,000 years, it does one revolution. It's the axial revolution. The axial revolution. It's 2,160,000 years. In 140,000 years, if that tilt moves 1 degree every 6,000 years, that tilt, which reduces the obliquity of the ecliptic. So the obliquity of the ecliptic is at 47, right? Well, it's reducing and reducing and reducing. In 140,000 years, it will be at zero a tilt, and we'll have a 1 season year. And the Earth's been doing this for millions of years. These are the 4 bigger seasons of the cycle of the obliquity of the ecliptic. It's something very important to understand, because now that you know that the tilt is always migrating 360 degrees, the planets are growing, speeding faster, orbits are slowing down, that's how solar systems work. That's how the serpent, the spirit, and the spiral in the universe works. So how do I know that Mercurius is the founder of this science, or mind, Thoth being thought? And it's also the word of God. Do you know what the word is? The logos? Well, in the brain, in Aries, is the nous, the thinker. Taurus controls the mouth, the logos, the word, the speaker. And Gemini, the Holy Spirit, Father, Son and the Holy Spirit, is air, spirit, It's a spirit sign. So you've got, you can see it there. Fire, spirit, earth, the logos where the mouth is, and there's the twins of Gemini are the lungs, right? So it's to do with spirit. Well, that's nous, logos, and pneuma, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thought, speech, and action. The action comes in with the arms. When you build a house, you build them with your hands. And the Holy Spirit is considered to be the active force of the universe. So that's where thought, speech and action, which is what the philosopher improves in his life, is occurring. In the first quadrant of the zodiac, nous, logos, pneuma, the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. So he says here, we propose, this is Firmicus Maternus in Mathesius, the 8 books. This is the most incredible, insightful work on astrology you will ever read. It's amazing. And this is, I'm going to read from this, where he explains that the ancients of Hermes gave us this science and told us that Aries is the mid-heaven. It's the universal birth chart. So we will always universally have Aries in the head, and that will be the heaven. So this is the heaven, this is the Midgard, the middle garden. The Scandinavians call it the Midgard. And the infernal regions are, in fact, the heavens. Can you see, if we put Aries there, can you see the head of the man? Adam Kadmon. There's the neck and the throat. There's the heart chakra, solar plexus. This is Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom, the bottom chakra, is right down the bottom where sodomy happens. See, that's why I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that's Sodom and Gomorrah. Because Sodom and Gomorrah is down in the hell. This is hell. The Midgard, heaven. Because of course it is heaven. The Pleiades are there. It's all there. It's all on cue. You can't make any of this up. In the first place, my dear Lollianus, we must be aware that God, the Creator, copying nature, has made man in the image of the universe. Remember that Aries is the mid-heaven. A mixture of 4 elements: fire, water, air and earth, so that a well-proportioned combination might produce the living being as a divine imitation. With his divine skill, he so composed man that the whole force, he's not talking about theocratic God here that, makes man out of dust, literally. He's talking about the patterns, the invisible patterns that create matter. Patterns come from patterns and matter. That's the God he's talking about, matter. The deist creator, not the theist, theocratic God who intervenes and is so concerned in our affairs that he has to meddle in them. This is the creator. See, pattern is Father, Pater Noster, our Father, the patterns, invisible, spirit, working on matter, our mother. Okay, it's not hard stuff. This is how when you do your etymology and your ontology and your epistemology, big words I know, but check those words out and work out this, then you know. You're not going to be fooled. You're not going to be thinking that matter is evil and mother and the female is evil. You won't be doing that. You won't be reduced to these pathetic, stupid behaviours of churchgoers that do that. And they put women on one side of the congregation with their covers over their head because they're indecent somehow to God. It's funny, isn't it? God. That's the theocratic God. That's the one you run away from, guys. You slave for that one, but you serve the Hermetic God because all is serving. I serve. Ichdein. With his divine skill, he so composed man that the whole force and essence of the elements is collected in that small body. In this way, he prepared a lodging for the divine spirit which descends from the heavenly soul to maintain the mortal body. Remember the seven heavens? We descend and we get more vestments and more obstructions to our path back. The gods, they clothe us with stuff and they make us forget what we were. But then when we start remembering, we climb back up and our consciousness lifts. That's what it's all about. And unity consciousness is here. Division is sub-heart chakra. This spirit, though fragile, is nevertheless a likeness of the spirit of the universe. Thus man, like a tiny universe, is sustained by the everlasting fiery movement of the 5 planets and the sun and moon. That's how man is sustained. The 5 planets and the sun and the moon. Those divine men, altogether worthy and admirable, Petosiris and Nechepso. We're starting to get some names. Take note of the names, guys. Petosiris or Osiris, Petosiris, and Nechepso or Nechepso, who approached the very secrets of divinity, also handed down to us the birth chart of the universe in order to show us that man is made in the likeness of the universe according to those same principles by which the universe itself is ruled, and that he is sustained forever by those same everlasting fires. Petosiris and Nechepso in this doctrine followed Asclepius. Remember Asclepius? The healer, Ophiuchus, Hermes' subsequent follower, the healer, the god of healing. They're all principles. It's the principle. Mercury is the right divine brain that we're going into now with the high consciousness. That's what it is. Mercury is the one that gives us this. This brain can't work that out. We need it to do all the data and the figures so that we've got the figures right, but we can only intuit it. It's got to be intuited. And that's what the higher mind is. Hermes. It's Hermes. And Moses is also Hermes, okay? Never forget that. The Jews identify who the guy with the stylus is. Hermes is the guy with the stylus, Mercury. And Moses is the writer. He wrote the 5 books. Well, and the 2 tablets of the law. Would that be the wings of the caduceus that Mercury holds and the intertwined serpents? The serpent that Moses intertwined in the wilderness? And Jesus is going to be hung like a serpent on the cross, he said? It would be. And Moses died on Mount Nebo. Wouldn't that be who the Babylonians called Mercury? Nebuchadnezzar, named after Nebo. And the Buddhists call him Buddha. It's the principle. It's the right brain. So to them, most powerful Mercury entrusted the secret. They set up the birth chart of the universe as follows. The sun in the 15th degree of Leo, the moon in the 15th degree of Cancer, etc. I'm going to miss that because I'm not going to be able to get through this. By this, they wish to prove that the fates of men are arranged in accordance with this birth chart. On the chart, just as is related in the book of Asclepius, which is called Myriogeniasis. Then he goes on to explain, Saturn is number 1, then Jupiter, and then as I've done, I've shown the order of the 7. They have a specific order in accord to their hierarchical position. So Saturn gets top. He's the top because he takes 29.5 years to go around in his orbit. Therefore, he's the boss because Jupiter takes 12, Mars takes 2, the Sun is, it's 1 year, that's why it goes in the middle. And then Venus is 225 days, and then Mercury's 88 days, and the Moon is 28. So the Moon's at the bottom, she's the Alpha, and Saturn is the Omega. The Alpha and the Omega. And they are the 7 vowels of creation. A, E, I, O, U. The 7 vowels. Take note because we think there are 5. There are not. There's 2 E's and there's 2 O's. You've got A and E, and you've got O and O. A, E, I, O, U. And that is the alpha and the omega, the creative sound. And the Indians reduce that to Aum. And they bring it down into the lower, to energize the lower chakras. Aum is, guess who? The Amen. In Egypt they say Aum, and then they give you the name En, because the sun is En. The sun is on. Because when the on comes up here from the Piscean darkness every morning at 6 a.m, when the sun comes up out of the waters of Pisces, Mary, the sea, the on, you turn the light on, and he's the one. See, in Egypt, the city of On was the city of the sun, Heliopolis. And when you turn on the light, that's the one, because the sun is the one. That's why his name is Sol. Solo. And the moon would be Mono. So, you see the N. Solamun means the sun, and Amun. And it's the hidden one. Amun means the hidden one. Now, why would it be hidden? Well, it's hidden because you gotta, have you ever noticed this? Where would the hidden one be hiding in the alphabet, I wonder? The Amun. Amun means hidden, and Christ is the hidden one. Can you see the word Christ in the alphabet? It's hiding right there. It doesn't matter what vowel you put in the middle of that. It doesn't matter. Crest. In fact, Suetonius and Tacitus call Christ Crestus. So crest, Christ, it doesn't matter. In Japan they call it Kiri. Kido. This is the Kido, the Christ. It's hiding. That's what they do. And there's many more. This stuff you can learn from Alvin Boyd Kuhn, as he puts the letter A here, and then he goes around and M is here. And A is followed by B, Abba. Abba is the father. And M is the mother. The middle letter of the alphabet is M. Matter. A is for spirit. Spirit and matter. If you see the South Korean flag, for instance, you'll see that they have the yin and the yang, right? And this is the yin, red, and then the blue part, southern part of their flag is the water. M is water, marine, Mary, maritime, and N next door, navy, naval, nautical. So M and N, and in fact in the Jewish alphabet, M is mem, and it means water. And the word next door, nun, means fish, to swim in water. So M and N are here, right on cue. And you want to read that. It's the esoteric alphabet by Alvin Boyd Kuhn. So now this is the point he comes to. And so from events which actually occurred in history of mankind, the hypothetical birth chart of the universe was put together with allegorical meaning. It has been handed down to us as an example to follow in the charts of men. So that we may not seem to have left out anything, we shall explain how it can be proved that man was created in the image of the universe. Then he goes on to say, in the chart of the universe, which we have said was invented by very learned men, and he did mention who that was, didn't he? Did I read Mercury? Mercurius? Necepso and Petasiris and Asclepius we got. Oh, and Hanubius is here too. Hanubius. Oh, here it is. To them, most powerful Mercury entrusted the secret. I did read that. Okay? To Asclepius, Hanubius, Petasiris, Pythagoras, Plato, because in the Prisca Theologia, the lineage goes from Hermes, the first, and then Orpheus, Asclepius, Agliathemus, Philolaus, Pythagoras, and the last one of the great divine line is the divine Plato. And then came the Neoplatonists, with Porphyry, Plutarch, Plotinus, Iamblichus, Ammonius Saccas, and then we come all the way to guys like Manly P. Hall in the modern era. And through the Renaissance we had Pico, we had Giordano Bruno. These were all Hermetic. They were teaching, in fact it was Marsilio Ficino, the Hermetist who translated Hermes. He was the one that spoke first and reminded mankind of the Prisca Theologia. They spoke of it all the time, and they tried to bring mankind back in that Renaissance time into the beautiful learning of the Hermetic ways. Hermes ruled the Renaissance, and Hermes ruled the founding of the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. They were Hermetists. Thomas Paine clearly said in his book Age of Reason, the sun is a parody on, the Christians have Jesus and replace him as, it's a parody on the sun and nature's cycles. He exposed it there, that the sun was this Jesus Christ with his 12 disciples. In the chart of the universe, we said was invented by very learned men, the medium caelum is to be found in Aries. That's the point. Finally, I've arrived. See? First of all, he's just revealed in this third book that where the science comes from, and he's named names and named the antiquity of this science and how carefully these priests devoted themselves to this art. And then he names where they said that Aries is always in the mid-heaven. So we are placed appropriately. Our Pisces water feet touch the earth. Our Aries fire head is in the air. Okay? Earth, fire and air are masculine, and water and earth, the feet are always touching the earth. Like a magnet, should be. Everything's right. It's all how it should be and on cue. This is because frequently, or rather always, in all charts, the medium heaven holds the principal place. The principal place always belongs to Aries because he, in Greek, is called Krios, the head. And the Jews and the Arabs call this the head. Aries, the Lamb of God. And from this we deduce the basis of the whole chart, especially since most of the planets and the luminaries, the sun and the moon, send their influence toward this sign. So all the planets, he just said, all of them, the sun and the moon, they send their influence to that sign. Yeah, up to the Pleiades, up to the pineal gland. Now, the reason I mentioned Keshava the Hutt, at the 1 minute 45 mark of his video, The Solar System, New Interpretation, I urge you to watch it, and also have a look at Nassim Harriman's version of this solar system. It's a little bit different, but it works. And at the 1 minute 45 mark, you will see this. He was doing his thinking. He's got the sun going around. He's got the sun going around with all the signs of the zodiac, like this, as it goes spiraling through the heavens. And guess what he's put up here as which sign of the zodiac? Aries. Take note of that video. Have a look at it. And please meditate on this and understand what that means. Always we have this. And remember, we discussed that this is a cycle of waxing. This is a semi-cycle of waning. And this one is of polarity. Okay, this one is doing is a cycle of, equilibrium and giving a polarity, a certain polarity. Heat, cold, day, night. Okay? So you see how the two spheres are divided. Light and day, they're two different forces, and then you've got the process of waxing and waning. When you understand this, and the moon's doing the same thing, and so are the planets. Right? But they're always they never, ever come to the same place before 4,320,000 years have gone by. 4,320,000 years. Manly P. Hall divulges that figure in his audio files on Astrotheology. There are 5 of them on the internet you can download. But there are other sources, and it's basically double the axial revolution. Remember that one? 2,160,000. Yeah, it's basically double that. Now, but it's interesting how these cardinal points influence everything else. You've got AC over here, the ascendant, and you've got descendant over here, and this is the meridium, or the mediocello, and the nadir. This is Dom, because Adam Kadmon, beginning at Aries. Now, please notice, if we put the Aries at the midheaven, you see where the head of the human being is here, and then the neck, and then it curves around, and the feet go back up to meet the heavens. And in the Egyptian system, we've already discussed that this is a sort of like a judgment here, judgment day. In fact, everything below the kidneys, according to the esoteric occultists, was Egypt, hell. And Egypt, of course, is this red stuff here, the Red Sea, right? All this stuff helps. I know it's biblical and stuff like that, but it helps. Now, there are 4 virtues. The planets belong to one of 4 virtues, okay? You've got the active virtues and the passive virtues. The active virtues are hot and cold, and the passive are wet and dry. So, this is important. Hot and cold. Hot and cold, wet and dry. Now, the planets will be 2 of either one of those things. For instance, the sun is hot and dry, undoubtedly. The moon would be cold and wet, although I might be mistaken about that. I know Saturn is cold and dry. And this is why Saturn is known as the greater malefic. In our solar system, those beautiful forces that they represent, Saturn and Mars are considered to be, Saturn is considered to be the greater malefic, and Mars is the lesser malefic. Combined, those two are responsible for about 90% of all the illnesses on this planet. Their forces. So you need to know where they are in your birth chart, number 1. This is for your health, okay? This is the health. So, what you know, let's grab a chart. There's a chart, for instance, okay? Now, this person is born under a grand cross. See those red lines that go, and the square, there's a square there and there's red lines running through them. That's called a grand cross. That's a cardinal grand cross. Because those points are in the cardinal signs, Libra, Cancer, Aries, and Capricorn. This will produce illnesses in the native. This person will have problems. Basically, that's a lot of friction. To be born under a grand cross is very, very special. I've got 4 examples here. It's a grand cross. Grand cross. So, you see, remembering that Aries is the head, the moon here in the causal, in the macrocosm, is in the head. It's in Aries. This person's got an Aries moon. You? Here they have Mars in Gemini. It's this part of the body. And here's Uranus in Leo. You've got Pluto in Virgo. Neptune is in Scorpion, and he's very happy there in Scorpio, believe you me, because he's the higher octave of Venus. Right? Neptune. And he represents the same loving, benefic influences as Venus does. So Scorpio is the generative area. In fact, Neptune was in Scorpio from 1957 to 1970, 13 or 14 years for all those baby boomers. It explains the sexuality, believe you me. Have a look into that, what Neptune in Scorpio does. You see, Neptune has only gone around once since we've discovered him in 1848, I think it is. Don't quote me. But he was discovered in 1948. Well, just 2 months ago they announced that Mercury's done an orbit, finally. But in the 60s, all through the 60s, all the way to 1970, Neptune was in Scorpio. Believe you me, that defines that generation and the sexuality of that generation and the awakening, because he's a liberator in that sense. Okay, you've got Jupiter here on the cusp of Scorpio and Sagittarius. What I'm doing is I'm just showing you that this person has got a particular constitution and configuration, that planets have given this person a particular configuration, different to yours. There will never be another one like it. There's only one person that gets this. I mean, you know, you could do the birth chart for various people around the globe at this particular time, but and they'll have similarities, but they will not be the same. Like no snowflake is the same, even though it's produced at the same instance around the world. There's never one the same. Yes?
Why is that?
Well, that's the beauty of the patterns of the Father, impressing itself on matter. Because 7 is the number of nature, 12 is the number of mind, mind over matter. The septenary, the serpent, is going around, Quetzalcoatl, he's creating, he's the demiurge. It's the creator that the mind sends forth, this mind. The dodecahedron, ether, the cause. It's the stillness, it's the oneness. And the oneness must divide or tip its balance in order to create motion, because everything you see is motion. And this is why this science is so important, because when you understand that and you don't get fooled into thinking that there's any substance in the elements of the periodic table. Gold is hydrogen, hydrogen is sulfur. They're just different states of motion. And in order to grasp that, I would suggest reading Walter Russell's book, New Concept of the Universe. That man was had his pineal gland opened at a very early age. You can do research on him and find out, but...
That wasn't the one that the trepanning, was it?
Well, he relates to the world in his biography that's how he got to know nature. And you can't debunk him. Try and debunk him. You won't be able to. Everything he says is electricity and magnetism. Electricity gravitates, and radiation, the feminine, radiates. And that's what you get here. See? You get gravity, or rather radiation, and gravity. See, what's going on is equilibrium is here. Creation occurs where you pull something off equilibrium. Otherwise it wants to stay still. This is stillness. In order to, and it's oneness, and it's the universe. And in order to make the duality below sub-ether, it produces electrical effects, the suns, the father fountains. And they are responsible for everything that exists materially. And this is how it happens. We have, in this cycle, we have in the sine wave, the sin wave, we have the serpent. The 7, everywhere you go, everything's a septenary. And we as Manly P. Hall says, you cannot but run into 7s wherever you go, because we come from the perspective of a septenary. We are a septenary. We are a feathered serpent. The caduceus is in us, the tree of life, as I've shown you, the Kabbalistic tree, the 10 Sephiroth. That's us. We are the living Christ. The Apostle Paul says the Christ is within. And it's this Christ, by the way, as I said before to someone, what's a crystal? It's Christ. Same spelling. Because it's crystallized light consciousness. That's Christ. And we're crystals. We're carbon crystals. Dodecahedrons, icosahedrons. We're all of this. And it's all motion. So this person, now I know this person, by the way, and this person is very, very ill. Very ill. And the illnesses are there, you can see them. Heart. Now I got this from the book that I shared with you. So you've got these are the deacons, you see. So if you see a that's 13 degrees. Uranus is 13 degrees in Leo. Okay, so that's obviously the middle deacon. So this person is concerned with the blood. This person will have blood matters to deal with. Now I've done hundreds of these types of charts for people, and I've always picked their physical problems. Pretty much if you go, this is pretty simplistic, but you can pretty much go with this. Arians normally have headaches. This person won't have headaches because these blue lines are trines and sextiles. Trines and sextiles, see, because these aspects, Uranus is aspecting with the moon, and it's fire with fire, that's a trine, it's 120 degrees, and that's giving good energy to that. You see? So this person will not have headaches, but if that was, say, if Uranus was here in Cancer, then you would have one of these, a square, 90 degrees. And then this person, being in the 18th degree of Aries, would have migraines. I've picked hundreds of these. That's what I look for. First thing, I look for the oppositions. You look for all these, malefic aspects. And I usually look, my eyes always go first to Saturn and Mars to find out what they're doing, because they are the malefics. And whatever house they are in, you see this is Saturn in the first house of this person. So that will have a malefic influence. Or it'll have good influences too. But that being the first house, see the houses are below the horizon, so that deals with you. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but for now we're doing the health. Here we have Capricorn is the knees and the skeletal structure. Here we have Aquarius, which is the shins and the circulation. Because Leo is the heart, directly opposite, the blood and the circulation. And so this person seems to have afflictions there, but you need to work out the degrees. 21 degrees Mercury and the Sun in Aquarius. This person is an Aquarius. 21 degrees and 23 degrees. That's the third deacon. Aquarius rules the movements. Knowing the person, I can tell you, rest assured, that that's the situation. So you look for these things because, like acoustics, the vibrations that come from these orbs are like the acoustics that an engineer has to work with at a gig. He might have his 30-band EQ with him, and he'll start over here, and he's got 30 bands along the spectrum, the lower vibrations and the higher vibrations over here, and he'll pull out the frequencies that are feeding back. They're squaring or whatever, you see. So he's got the opportunity to do that. Well, with astrology, those 7, as they go around, they create different dynamics in the solar system, and some of those dynamics are good and some of them are bad, depending on 2 things. The signs that they are in. For instance, Saturn would be happy in Capricorn because he rules Capricorn. So this person, wow, this is a good thing for this person. This person has some really good attributes and things to look to and build on, because what you have to do is transcend these and work with these. Know where they are, know where your weaknesses are and your strengths. So Saturn is happy there. The Sun is not happy in Aquarius. usually, because that's the opposition of the sun, the detriment of the sun, rather. So in astrology, each planet has its house and its opposition, its fall and its detriment, exaltation and its fall. Okay, so let's get that right. So we've got the humours because the planets will be this. Okay, Venus is probably, I think, she'd have to be wet because she's generative. Oh, I can check that, but I haven't done a list of anything of that. But rest assured, they'll either be one of the active, virtues, or one of the passive virtues. Okay, so you've got the house of a planet and its detriment. You've got the exaltation and the fall. Now, it's quite easy to understand how this works. It's interesting that the sun exalts in Aries. Why would it exalt in Aries? Any idea? Now that you know the science?
Because it's hot and dry, and so is Mars, maybe? Yep, Mars and Aries being cardinal fire. Yeah, but there's another reason. Remember what we said about equilibrium and the polarity of light and darkness, right? And then, of course, remember what we said about waxing and waning. This is the point where the sun exalts, because finally, here he has been in Aquarius. He is opposite Leo, and that's where the sun rules. Sun rules over here, ruling house. That's the detriment of the sun. So as the sun goes through the detriment, oh boy, longer nights, shorter days. Finally, on the 21st of March, it reaches that point. That's exaltation. This is the fall of the sun, Libra. The sun falls because, remember, this is 6 p.m. God damn, when the sun goes down at sunset, it's fallen. And the Egyptians said that's the death of the sun, the judgment of the sun and the stars and all the planets that go beyond the horizon. The west is the death. So, you see, it exalts there, it rules here, has detriment there, it must have detriment there, and it must fall here. Well, the planets are doing that too. So you look for those things in your chart. So let's have a look at some examples of this then. Here we have a Piscean, but just on the cusp. So it's very, very strong to be on the cusp of two signs. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So March the 21st is when Aries begins. So the first 10 days, the first decan of Aries, we could call that top part of the head, that will be ruled by Mars, because Mars is in Aries. So the first decan gets to be there. These people are very martial, all the way to the 31st of March. Then this decan here, and by the way, these are affected by Pisces, people born here in that first decan. They have Piscean contamination or influence. Whereas these people from 0, 1 to 9, or 1 to 10, this decan, these are ruled by the sun. The sun is here and Jupiter is here. And this is how you work it out. Aries is the first fire sign, Leo is the second. It's got the sun in it, therefore it gets the second decan. Sagittarius down here is ruled by Jupiter, the third fire. Therefore Jupiter rules here. And that's how the decans work. Okay, and we see how the decans are going here. So if you've got an aspect, like a malefic in the first degrees of Taurus, look at your nose, and there'll be something associated with the nose that's giving you a problem, or the throat, or the ears. You wonder why your brothers and sisters have all got some certain affliction that you haven't got, and why certain people are
are prone genetically to certain diseases and stuff like that. Well, believe you me, when you're born, sometimes you actually choose charts that go with genetic makeup. There's a lot to this. Yeah, your souls, when looking for incarnation, go to configurations, and at the right time that will give them similar configurations for the family's vibration and the way they are configured. Because that's how you get into incarnation. You get attracted to certain spirits or certain kinds of characteristics in families that you're attracted to. Same vibration. It's like a soul group. So again, here we see good aspects. This person has a lot of good aspects. There's the first degrees of Pisces, and so that would rule coordination. They'll be good on their feet, right? Rest assured, if that was a bad aspect, these people would, have trouble with their balance eventually, because that part of their solar system has been debilitated. The acoustics are not vibrating the way they should. See, those planets want to go around and rejoice in certain signs. They rejoice in certain... For instance, the sun is always happy in Aries. Loves it. The spring, impregnation. This is glorious, the exaltation sign of the sun. He knows where he's happy. He knows where he exalts. You see? But then if there's a planet over here and it's afflicting it, these Arians with afflictions, have usually got those particular problems: concentration, migraine, and skull. Now, let's go on to the houses, because these things, like the journeying of the planets through the signs, what is creating, according to Marcus Manilius, different people of all kinds. And there is no one alike that are born under these configurations. Every 4,320,000 years, they go back to their alignments. You see, the last time that all the planets aligned in one sign, those 7, was in Aries. It happened in Aries, according to Manly P. Hall. And the next time it will happen in 2 of the same signs removed. It'll happen in Sagittarius. Now, with the houses, and I do recommend this book. This is brilliant, by Deborah Holding. Okay? The houses. I'd love to read portions of this. It's magnificent work. I'm really enjoying it. But with the houses, let's have a look at how they work. Now, the first house, I'll just run through what the houses mean. The first one has to do with life. House 2 is income, wealth, and fortune. 3, neighbours and brothers. Home for the 4th, parents, property. Pleasure for the 5th house. Illness and infirmity for the 6th. Partners, marriage for the 7th. Death, trial, wills, inheritance for the 8th. Long journeys, dreams and visions, and learning and travel on the 9th. Careers, honours, dignity, glory, distinction, authority in the 10th. Friends, good spirit in the 11th. And enemies in the 12th house. Now, when we have a look at our zodiac signs, we see Aries, and we learn a little bit about Aries and its nature. Its motto is I am. So it's concerned with its isness. Yeah? And Taurus is I have. Taurus. And Gemini is I think. Cancer is I feel. Is anyone going to help me with this one? Leo is I desire, doesn't it? Okay. So there they are. Let's take note of those. We've got I am, I have, I think, I feel, I will. I will. Mercury and Virgo is I analyse. Well, that makes sense if you know Virgos. Venus and the scales, I balance. Scorpio, I desire. Sagittarius, I see. It has to do with the eyes, Sagittarius. In fact, that's one-eyed. According to Marcus Manilius, this guy has an affliction in one eye. The centaur, I see. Saturn, I use. In Capricorn. In Aquarius, I know. And Jupiter, I believe. Let's have a look at if the houses actually correspond with these. Well, the first house, and by the way, the houses go this way, okay? The first house will be here, in fact, because that's the ascendant, and the first house must ascend in order to be the first house. And then the second house follows the first house, so this is the second house. It doesn't go that way, all right, because we're following nature here. But the first house is to dealing with life. The second house I have, well, Taurus, the materialistic sign, I have dealing with income, wealth, fortune, profit, property, livelihood, etc. Gemini, I think, the third house, dealing with brothers. Would there be two twins in Gemini? Pollux and Castor, brothers. The crab is the home. So the fourth house, which will of course be over here, that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. The fourth house, which we have to go this way to get its meaning. The crab likes to bring in her family. She brings things in. She's motherly. It's the moon is here. That's the mother. The moon is here. Water is here. Cardinal water. It's a cardinal water sign. It feels. It's a crab, motherly, and the moon. How many more motherly things do you want in the fourth house? You know, so it's doing with parents and the home, right? Because remember, the sine wave is going to obey the influence. And as you will see in a minute, you'll see that people born under the signs do actually have certain physical traits that prove and show that they are under these orbs or these signs or the elements or the modality. And you can go forever and forever with this. Man, I've had to guess some people sometimes through their element and whether it was mutable or cardinal or fixed. And it works all the time. So Leo, the sun. What's that going to be dealing with? Pleasure, the lion, symbol of pleasure. It also has to do with children, joy, love affairs, gambling, clothes, the house of Bona Fortuna, the fifth house. This one is illness. This has to do with illness and mala fortuna, bad fortune, work, domestic chores. Well, domestic chores, that's where you do the most work all year round in the harvest of the Virgin. And illness, probably because of the decline of the sun and the mutability of the sign, and also where it rules, Virgo, the belly. And it is known to occultists that if you keep this in perfect health, as Thomas H. Burgoyne says, your whole organism will be perfectly healthy. Because all diseases come from the stomach being upset and putting things in there that you shouldn't be putting in there. Society has really given us lots of goodies to put in there that shouldn't be in there. Wow, processed food is the most dangerous of all because they've been cooked and processed and added to and refined and twisted and tortured, and they bake it and roast it and fry it, and everything's done to it, right? So where does the light go?
Taking the nature out.
We can even get the Project Alimentarius if we wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. So are you getting this? You see, what I'm giving you is the tools so you can go fishing, not fish. I'm not just giving you facts. I'm showing you how to work out the houses and think for yourself. The first sign must be, the ascendant is Aries, because it is there. That's where it is. This lives here. This is how it is, and you do not change it. Never will change. Aries is always going to be the mid-heaven, and it's always going to be the top of your head. You can't put the fish here. The fish swim in water, and the brain needs electricity. See, that is electricity. Okay, let's do this. Electricity, magnetism. Chemical energy, kinetic energy. Now you're getting it. And I'd like to thank Johan for that. Check out pateo.nl for some good information which harmonises. He's a guy in Holland who's done some research, and it's good research. I hope I'm not doing the wrong pateo.nl. And he explains these fours. He's good with the fours, believe you me, with the elements fire, air, earth and water, and a lot of this science just perfectly harmonises with this. So you're working it out yourself. Obviously this must have to do with you, the first house. This must have to do with your fortunes. This has to do with your brothers, because the brothers are there, the mother's there. Has to do with your parents and mother and family. And this has got to be pleasure. Summer. Midsummer, pleasure. The sun is in his glory in Leo. The dog days are here. They start here. You know, July 4th with Sirius in behind the sun, because they said, the ancients, that when Sirius conjuncts the sun, that's the dog days. And because of her electric forces, remember what we talked about before, how much influence she has on our solar system. Well, when she's behind the sun in the dog days, the little dog, Canis Major, Sirius, she's cooking us. And so this is pleasure. All right, the sixth house, sickness, illness, the stomach and Virgo and mutability. Partners. You, individual, just you. Your partner, opposite. Check out the opposites. There's a relationship. Short trips, Sagittarius, long trips. Anyway, there's many more, but I'll keep going. Virgo, so Libra. How about this one? This makes sense. What's the eighth house? Death. Scorpio. Generation. That's the testes or the ovaries. That's what Scorpio rules. So when man and woman, husband and wife come together to reproduce, they give death. They don't give life in the Hermetic wisdom, don't they? So it's the house of death. That's Scorpio, but it's not, you know, death is life. The philosopher knows that when you die, you live. We come from spirit into matter for a, you know, in the sine wave, in the spiral of time for a short period, and then we disappear back to where we came. There's no more body. It's in the grave, in the tomb, is it not? Scorpio has to do with that death also, because when the sun goes through that sign, which it is in now, what is it, the 6th of November, we're right in the heart of Scorpion energy, man. Fixed water, very emotional, generation, death and life, deep esoteric sign. These people make good priests. Yeah, they do. They go, their nature, this Mars with fixed water and Scorpio, because the serpent is here too, and the eagle. They have that eagle. I'll show you in a minute. I've got some photos of Scorpios, and you see they all have beaks, bird beaks. This is not, I'm not making it up. I see Scorpios all the time. I see that bird beak. I see the bird. I go, oh, this is a Scorpio. Yeah, there's a Scorpio coming. You can see it. You can see the canine in Aries. You can see the feline in Leos. The bovine, the equine, you can see it. If you can't see it, you're not looking for it. So this house is, as I said, long trips. And by the way, remember I said short trips over here? Well, in the Mediterranean, most boats were called Pollux and Castor. In fact, the Apostle Paul took a boat from Malta to Pozzuoli, I think, near Naples, on a boat called Pollux and Castor, because Pollux is Paul, the Apostle Paul. There's many hints as to Paul being Apollo, the sun, and that's one of the hints in the Bible. And there's many others. I mean, he had an affliction in the eye. Well, opposite Gemini is long trip, Sagittarius. Remember, Sagittarius is the one-eyed. And the Apostle Paul has an affliction in the eye. And that's a fact. You can read the Bible, it's in there. Paul, Apollo, Pollux. So this is how you got to think. When you start putting all these various bits of data together, then the whole piece just comes together. Everything connects. There is nothing that does not connect. Are you seeing that? Are you appreciating that aspect of this? Yeah, nothing's sort of wedged in and it sort of doesn't fit. It all flows, all of it. And it must, if it's a perfect science and if it's going to do us any good. Why would Hermes give us? I mean, and Hermes, you've got to remember, is the guy who, as I said at the start, these guys, the indigenous wisdom keepers, they know how long Hermes has been around for. And they know that those guys were much more conscious and smarter than we are now. And there's one symbol of that to remind us. The Cheops. The Great Pyramid. Let's call it the Great Pyramid because Cheops didn't build it. And these guys tell the truth about this 50 or 60,000 year history of Egypt. And that's what the tour we're going to do. We visit all pre-dynastic sites and explain them. Yosef, the son of Abdel Hakim. All right, so this wisdom that was devised there in Egypt, like they wouldn't have botched it up. There's no way. This priesthood was, they didn't botch up the pyramid. It's perfect. The greatness, engineers go there and they just can't comprehend. Most of the average person goes there and goes, oh, that's just a bunch of rocks. Let's go to McDonald's. They see it as like, it doesn't look good, you see, because in the 12th century, the Arabs needed rocks. Sorry, the Great Pyramid does not have a top. They needed, hey?
Casing stones.
Yeah, they stripped the casing stones off it. 1,000 years ago, if you were around, you went down to Egypt, you would have seen this was beautifully just. Man, you couldn't even see a join between the two rocks. It was that polished that it was reflecting. The limestone was reflecting like a mirror. This engineering is the same as this engineering here, one and the same. And anyone who comes along and poo-poos this, oh, astrology, isn't that a pseudoscience? Well, that's the time to either decide whether you're going to have an argument or just walk away. Don't bother. I've learnt not to bother, unless I care for the person in one way, and I'll say, look, what do you know about astrology? And I'll get into it. But usually half an hour down the track, you plant the seeds anyway. You can only do that. In fame, the 10th house. Fame. I wonder why you'd have fame in the 10th house. Well, the 10th house corresponds to, it is Capricorn, yes, but it corresponds to the mid-heaven, really, because that's the 10th house when you're going around 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're talking about the 10th house. And the mid-heaven is between these two houses. So this one is religion and fate and dreams and visions and learning. And this is your career, honours, dignity, authority, power, glory, distinction, etc. And so why? Well, obviously because the sun now is in its mid-heaven and he's receiving his honours and glory. He's collecting. He's dignified. We look up and summer sun, you can't say, oh, you weak sun, my plants aren't growing, you're useless. You can't curse the sun on that day. You can curse him here if you're so inclined. I don't know why you would, but that's the blessings. He's in the top of the kingdom. So of course you're going to get honours and fame and glory. So, and you have love, you have in the 11th house you have love, ambition, triumph, good spirit, friends, and then the 12th house. The 12th house, which is, of course, Pisces, is the house of enemies. Enemies, friends. Oh, I stuffed that up with Aquarius, didn't I? Saying that was enemies. Yeah, so friends. But of course, I went around back that way. You understand why this is the first house below the ascendant, because it has to come up. It's coming up, and therefore it's the first house, and it has those attributes. It has to do with you. It's your ascendant. It's going to give you your skeletal structure. And we're going to have a look at that now. We're going to see how important the ascendant is in the way you look. So when you know your ascendant, it defines you. This sign coming up, the first sign, the first house, is about you, your life. Then as the sun goes around this beautiful curve, then it relaxes in the energy of Taurus. It tells you about what you're going to have, how much of it you're going to have, what planet's in Taurus. If Saturn's there, squaring with Mars, forget about it. You're going to be a pauper, right? But if you've got, say, Venus in there, trining with, having a trine with, say, Taurus, another Earth sign, and there's a beautiful planet in there, perhaps Mercury or whatever, the Sun, that will give you riches. And you see that. I've seen that in my family. I won't give an example because it's negative on me. I'm the one that never has money. My brother always has money. I checked his birth chart. Yeah, and there's money in his birth chart, and he keeps looking down at me saying, why don't you save your money? And I look at my birth chart and I go, yeah. Saturn's the malefic, the greater malefic. Mars is the lesser malefic. Jupiter is the greater benefic, and Venus is the lesser benefic. But the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury, Mercury is is a hermaphrodite. He's never further away from the Sun than 28 degrees. And Venus is never more than 48 degrees. Mercury and Venus and the Moon, because they are inferior, remember they're in the inferior world because they're closer to the Sun. So you can never see Venus full, never. She's always 2/3 full, or 3/4. That's why, the Arabic flag with the crescent, that's not the crescent of the moon. That's the crescent of Venus. The green flag is the sign of Venus, the colour of Venus. Yeah, but that crescent proves how much science the Muslims knew.
Yes.
Because the Muslims, they actually were the first religion to officially recognise science. The Vatican would never do that. Christianity would never do that. The Muslims did it because they were into science, and they brought this science to Cosimo de' Medici when the Renaissance flowered. But that crescent is Venus. They're telling you how much they know about science, because that flag was invented before the telescope of Galileo. So how did they know you can never see Venus full in her glory? If she could, she'll be much shinier than Jupiter. You see them tonight, at 10 o'clock, you'll see them there, or 9 o'clock, and they're sort of like opposing each other, but they're the two brightest wanderers. Now, I use this book all the time because when I discovered this book a few years ago and I was getting right into this research, I was looking on the internet for, pictures of people to see if you could see how the ascendant affected them and how the sun sign and the moon sign affected these people. Because I had this book, Body Types, and this is brilliant. This is brilliant. But this one here is better in my opinion because it has the photographs of people that we know, and we can see their characteristics. And William Schreiber, I urge people to, I think it's about $20. I actually carry it on my website, but if you're overseas, I prefer that you go to William Schreiber's Astrovision's website and purchase it, because I'm trying to just look after, like Australia and that. So, but this book is brilliant. William Schreiber was very thorough with his research. And he's come up with a great product, I think. It's just brilliant. And through the book, you can see pictures of people that, these are Sagittarians. You can see the equine features, Jupiter rules, they're jovial. Jupiter is, remember, the greater benefic. Jupiter is beneficent. When you've got him in your sign and there's nothing opposing him, in fact, when you're looking at someone's birth chart, check out what Jupiter's doing, because Jupiter absolutely dominates the whole birth chart. And find out where your Jupiter is. Mine's in my feet, in Pisces. I know what that means for me. I've got Mercury and the Moon in my feet. And I know what that means. So if you look at the Adam Kadmon, you see that that's there, right, in Pisces. And my Sun is in the head. Mars is in Leo. I've got Mars in Leo. I know why, because Mars is bitter. Mars rules all the bitter. And remind me, please, to share some wisdom from Al-Biruni about the planets and what they rule. For instance, Mars rules all your bitter foods, everything that's bitter. Saturn, everything that's sour. Jupiter, when you're having sweet watermelon, you thank Jupiter, because it's Jupiter's rays that produce that sweetness. Everything, every effect is from those causes. And you just have to look for them. And you have to know what's in your constitution, where your sun is, where your moon is, what aspects are there, what's debilitating you, why are you sick. And once you do, then you can have crystals. You can have crystals set up so that around your body, wherever you need, so that they can add energy, either positive or take away negative energy from that particular sign. You see people, why do people wear blue gemstones around their neck? They try to keep, because this is the blue chakra. You see, and it helps with the voice. Sagittarius, I mean, you can see, I've done this before. Let's contrast Sagittarius with Scorpio, shall we? Look at the bird beak. Can you see a bird beak there?
So it's the eagle, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. These are the bird people. You can see it. And they're not so, I mean, your Sagittarians are clearly, that's Jupiter, that's Mars. Remember, he's the greater benefic and he's the lesser malefic. Right? So can you see the malefic influences here when you're sort of, not that these people are not as happy as these people, it's not about that. But you can just see that Mars is in there, the bird, and you can see the fiery scorpion, the eyes. You can see that focus, their eyes, the intensity and stuff like that. You look for that certain thing. Here's what William Schreiber has to say about these people. He says, in the middle of the fall season, the darkness of night noticeably dominates over the day. The leaves have fallen from the trees, the grass has turned to brown, and life force has entered a state of dormancy. It is so obvious that nature's resources are now limited. Remember, we're talking about the fall, huh? We're talking about... And it's interesting, another thing that I forgot to mention before, see where the fall of the sun is? Well, that's where autumn begins, at the fall. I didn't put it there. They always said that Libra was the fall, and the fall of the sun, autumn, is beginning here. Okay? These things are very, very precious when you start putting them together like that.
Why was that Mars and not Pluto in this?
Pluto is also there. Pluto is also in Scorpio, but we just deal with the original 7 planets in Hermetic wisdom because they are the active septenary force. And the others are sort of like on another octave, but also influence in a very similar way. So they should be considered, yes, and factored into it, yes. As I've done, I'm going with the Western School of Hermes in all of this. And that also, there are 48 constellations, whereas today there are 88. Okay, so they've added constellations to here, so they've filled in the spots and they put other little constellations in here, but these are the original 48. When the sun goes through that ecliptic and those deacons go through also, everything happens on cue. I'm going to do a presentation on this soon. And I'm just going to deal with this and show you how Perseus slaying Medusa is here, where you wake up in the morning in the fiery Aries, and that fire smashes all the starlit night. And the stars flee when the sun comes up in Aries at 6 a.m. every morning, and Perseus is there to strike Medusa. Just like Samson kills his 1,000 with an ox jaw, a bone of an ox. You know, he didn't just go around killing people because he was a man of God. You see, Christians tell these stories, churchgoers tell these stories to their children, these grotesque stories, and expect them to believe them literally, and they do, and it horrifies them. Little do they tell them that it's happening in the stars, for goodness sakes. There it is, there's Samson, you know, and he's got his club. It's Perseus killing Medusa, the starlit night. And then it's all on cue. I mean, all right, here's a Regulus. See that star in Leo? Regulus. That's one of the 4 bright stars of the fixed signs. Regulus is here. Antares is in Scorpio, the red star, Antares, right on cue where the generation happens. Regulus in Arabic, according to these guys, is the Messiah. So when we enter the age of Aquarius, opposite is Leo, is it not? So the vernal equinox over here and the autumnal equinox will no longer be where they have been for 2,000 years. Once Aquarius starts and Aquarius sits on the equinox and splits the day on the 21st of March, Aquarius goes there. Opposite is Leo. Right? So Regulus rises from Virgo. We've been in Pisces and Virgo, right? We've been in Pisces and Virgo, and we've gone through the stomach, Virgo, through the lower chakras. We're being pulled up. And then when the equinox lines up with Leo, there's the Messiah. Of course the Messiah is coming in the sky. And there are other ways I can give you another 10 ways that the Messiah is here. See, in here there are 7 heroes. Perseus, Ophiuchus, Orion, Bootes, Cephas, Auriga, and anyway, there's one more. There are 7, okay? And their positions, those 7, they are the Christ that are coming, because they're always coming. Remember the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? Right? I showed you the white one, the white lamb, it's always on this equinox. The green one, because it rules green, the pale horseman of the apocalypse. The red horseman's over here because it introduces the red. And the black is here, Osiris, the dark one, Saturn, black. The colour of Saturn is black, unmistakably. Like the colour of green is Venus. And how do I know that? Well, let's have a listen to Al-Biruni, shall we? Saturn, Jews and those who dress in black. That's why they celebrate the Sabbath on Saturn Day, when they wear black. Well, it tells you. This is 1,000 years ago, right? Christians, Jupiter. Christians, those who dressed in white. Yeah, because Christians are from the Church of Jupiter. Mars, idolaters, wine-bibbers, dressed in red. Idolaters. Sun, wearing a crown. Magicians, Mithraists. They follow Mithra. Mithra. Ra is the sun. Venus, Islam. Green. Mercury, disputants in all sects. Moon, adherents to the prevailing religion. What else does he teach us? Saturn, extremely cold and dry. The greater malefic. Male, diurnal. Disagreeable and astringent. When you eat astringent food. Offensively acid. Stinking, jet black. Also black mixed with yellow. Lead colour. Pitch dark. Of course, these produce the humours too. Bile, blood, phlegm, the 4 humours. Blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm. Take note. All right? Mars, extremely hot and dry. A lesser malefic. bitter. You ever had something bitter that you don't like? Now, if you know your Ayurvedic medicine, you know that you need to have your 7 tastes, don't you? You see, in the West, we love our sweet and sour. If you want to be healthy and if you want to be really vitalised, you must have all the tastes. Please enjoy sour and bitter. Include them. The Indians teach this. The Indians teach that. That's why they have cardamom and they have... they put it all in there. And that's why when you eat an Indian food, it's got all these flavours. It's really strong with flavours because they know they've got to balance the 7 to be healthy. Anyway, I'm going to deal with that in the last part of the Prisca Theology on the 20th. So on eating and things like that. Not that I'm, professing to be some kind of expert or anything like that, or giving people advice, but I'm just pointing to what the people who know say, and you can verify this. All right, let's go with some more stuff from this guy here. See, Saturn is cold and dry. Jupiter is hot and moist. Mars is hot and dry. The Sun is hot and dry. Venus is cold and moist. Here are some other things that the planets rule. You've got Saturn, greed in vice, and prudence in virtue. Jupiter, gluttony, temperance. Mars, anger, fortitude. The Sun, pride and faith. Venus, lust and justice. Mercury, envy and hope. The Moon, sloth and charity. In fact, charity comes from church, and church is Circe, which is the moon. Of course it's charity. The virtue of the moon is charity, because she's the church. Now do you remember that Isis saves Osiris because they cut him up into 14 pieces? Well, remember the moon... we had the moon, and we said that when she waxes, she's Isis, and then she turns into Nephthys as she wanes, okay? Yeah. Well, Osiris lives down here. He's Saturn. He's black, and he's dead in the tomb in Tartarus. So the 14 pieces that Osiris gets chopped into are the 14 sub-equator lunar mansions. She has 14 houses here, and she has 14 above. She has 28 houses. And there they are. They are the houses. Everything below quarter moon waning and below quarter moon waxing is the 14 lunar mansions that Isis begins here. See that beautiful slither? The crescent of the moon? When you first see that, traditionally the Jews give that day Monday. Right? Because this is Sunday, because the sun blots out the new moon. You cannot see the moon for one day. And this is Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's how they worked it out. And that there, when you see that light, that blessing of light of the moon beginning on her climbing her holy mountain, takes 14 days for the ovaries, for the eggs in the ovaries to mature. If fertilised, 270 days later, the woman in the womb will produce an offspring. Otherwise, 14 days later, the woman will menstruate. And that's the beautiful cycle of Isis. Right? So Isis, when she picks up on her journey, she saves Osiris and puts him back together again, all his 14 pieces, and reinstates him as Horus on the horizon every morning. And the Horus... Sorry?
It's the seat of Mars, isn't it?
Yeah, Mars is here.
Yeah.
In Aries.
Okay,
but
great, thank you.
But it's the male phallic. Mars is... Why do you have... why does Mars have that? Because that's the phallic of Osiris in Mars, and Horus comes up and he's born again. Osiris is always coming out of the tomb. So here's the tomb. And remember, Jesus, the Son, says, Lazarus, come out of the tomb. Oh, he must stink. He's been there for 3 days. Yeah, the Son dies for 3 days down here between the 21st and the 25th of December. So here we have Librans, okay? So you see the equilibrium of their features. Yeah? And like I said before, supermodels, Librans make good supermodels. There's a lot of them. And they're also got the thinking with the air sign. And you know, look, who have we got here? John Lennon. You have a look at your air types and the musicians, for instance. You know, their lyrics are very, very mind focused and centred, aren't they? John Lennon, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen. You know, they're thinking types, and their lyrics clearly show where they're coming from. They're coming from mind. They sing from mind. Whereas your fire people have more mystical music, you know. And the water people are always talking about love. Check it out. I mean, do this, get on the internet and think of a singer who is very, very emotional, and check out their birth chart, and you'll find that they keep singing about love and love and love, watery love, because they're a Piscean or whatever, you know. And the earth signs will be sensual, you know, like Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley. Michael Jackson grabbing his crotch, and Elvis Presley, Elvis the pelvis. I mean, it's clearly sensual. Sammy Davis Jr., these people are sensual. You can see it in the music, it comes out. It's undeniable, this science, and you've got to go looking for the elements, the fire. You can see the fire, you can see the mental, you can see the emotions. And they're always ruled by that polarity of the sun and the moon and the ascendant.
Yep, we did that one.
Yeah, we did that one, of course, yeah, and the Sagittarians. I like to do those ones always because they really contrast well. Your Virgos, you'll have a, you know, like a twisted features and stuff like that.
Twisted?
Yeah, you have sort of like your Geminis and anyone ruled with Mercury, because Mercury rules Virgo. You know, you probably have an eye going one way and an eye going another way. Check it out, your Geminis. You can see they've got like a skewed facial features, they're called, in this book. Let's have a look at this.
So Gemini and Virgo this applies to?
Yeah, because they're ruled by Mercury. It's good when you can think like this, you can understand, you know. You're Sagittarian. I've got a cousin who's Sagittarian and he's always smiling. You cannot wipe the smile off his face. And I've got two other female cousins that are the same, Sagittarians. Love them. Love them. Yeah, and we all do. We do. We love them. You know, people like Brad Pitt, always smiling. You see Tina Turner's beautiful smile. Who can I... Well, I mean, we've just seen them, haven't we? These people are like... The smile is there. It's beautiful. That's Jupiter. You can see the sweetness. Jupiter bestows sweetness upon people. Virgo, you can see the Mercury here. These people are very... they look like the magicians and the gypsies and you know, they look very, very eccentric because they've got mutable Earth and they've got Mercury. Mercury is giving all these contorted sort of features that they have. Chin goes one way, nose goes the other way. Same with Mercurians. Aquarius, I mean, look at the gaze on these people. The air, you can see the fixed air in the mind. It's mental, it's a mental sign. Look at this, the way William Schreiber's depicted them. And they walk with airiness because it rules the shins. You'll find that these people are good with athletics because they've got a lightness of air. It's a light air thing, and good fighters. If you're looking for fighting, good fighting, just have a look at all your Bruce Lee. He's a Sagittarius, fire. Tony Jai, Aquarius, fighter, and he's a very, very light. He can do somersaults. You know, have you seen Tony Jai? The Thai kickboxer fighter, his movies are just absolutely exquisite. Much better choreographed than Bruce Lee's. He's Aquarius. Jackie Chan is Arian. Steven Seagal is Arian. Jean-Claude Van Damme is Libran. You see these, and they are great fiery fighters because their sign will support them in their fight, in that. Leos. See the feline features? You know, these are all different kinds of cats to me. I don't know. I see lions when I see these big manes. They have manes. They do. They have these lion manes. Leos. And they are feline. They really, really are. Aries, electric. You see the electricity of Aries, that cardinal fire at the beginning, that fieriness, the sun just going, and the aspect of impregnation, that's very electric. This is the point where the sun exalts and it gives such a burst of electricity and impregnates all the other planets. Because that's what they are. You see, the planets are like particles to an atom, which is the sun, electric, and they are magnetic. And as they go around, the sun is always impregnating them. And see, these people have got that clear, that flower, blossom, spring energy, electric. So what we've learnt in the astrological part of the Prisca Theologia is we've learnt the fundamentals of the physics that underpin this science. Okay, you can see the natural cycles in there. You can see what the electric sun is doing with its beautiful light and darkness, waxing and waning, and how it affects these cardinal points, these four horsemen of the apocalypse as they go around, how they affect the various kinds of people, with the planets interchanging their admixtures of different influences, and we have all these different people that come from the different positions, as Marcus Manilius says. No two are alike, and no fortunes are the same. And so why do we give importance to astrology? Because astrology is the science of as above, so below. The correspondences are all there. I've just shared with you a handful. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There are so many stories to tell here, and I will do it eventually, you know, if Providence gives me the opportunity to make some more presentations, perhaps with graphics on film and whatnot. But everything is in here. That's the above, and this is what Hermes taught us. The right mind taught us this when we were more conscious. And obviously we are suffering from the effects of the Dark Ages, loss of consciousness, and as we awaken in these days, which we are, because the sun, the spiralling sun, is taking us to greener pastures. There is no point where the sun meets here on the 21st of March every year. It doesn't go to the same place. It's spiralling forever upward. Forever. It never comes to this point at the same place. Remember, the sine wave is there because it's telling you about linear time. As it goes forward, it goes cyclically, not like a wheel. A wheel goes back into itself. This is a cycle which continues in its nature and behaviour, but does never come back to the same place. So we're always growing with this. The feathered serpent, our solar system, we just have to trust that that feathered serpent takes us to greener pastures. In fact, the minds tell us that it will. Because on the 21st of December 2012, and I've explained this on other videos where this galactic alignment is going to occur, then shall start newer influences and different influences that like we've not seen for a long time since our awakening, because we are awakening. And the dead that shall arise, that the scriptures talk about, the dead shall rise, that's not dead in terms of in the tomb and then all of a sudden you pop up out of the tomb as literalist Christianity try and teach. It's talking about we have been dead in sleepfulness. We have been sleeping. Now as we learn this stuff and we remember the symbols now because we know what these mean, they've been lying dormant in the winter of unconsciousness for thousands of years. And the Romans went destroying the temples of Egypt and defacing their monuments and the hieroglyphs that they didn't understand. And the Christians, you know, they destroyed the Mediterranean's cultural, spiritual, hermetic heritage. Alexandria, the library was burnt. Israel, in Jerusalem, the temple, the initiates there was destroyed. Carthage, she snuffed out all the lights so that she could rule in a fictional world for thousands of years. Now as we awaken and we reclaim our dominion, this science is essential. Astrology is the science of as above, so below. And it is the beginning of understanding who you are. When you realise that you are this, and you look up and you go, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. You know what the stars are. They're fountains of life. They are atoms, atoms. And they all have different glory. There's no star that is alike in the universe. Just like there's no other creature that is alike. Not a star. All of their polarities are different and all of their natures are different. They are all different. Study this one, Aries in Scorpio, and see how different they are. And then you'll understand where our influences and our destinies lie. We are young stars and we are returning to the stars. Thank you.